Okay, so we're gonna start lesson 9. Um, the idea here is that we're going to be using fragments. So a fragment is like a layout that we have been using so far, but it can be applied to other layouts. So as the example here, we have this this fragment, and although in a phone they would work with separate pages, in a tablet they could work with in a single one, in a single activity. Um, we are not going to get in this lesson to program this difference in behavior. Instead, we're just going to be working with the fragments, how to implement them, but I'll leave in Google Classroom the chapter where you guys can apply the different layouts if you want to. Okay, so let's start with a new project. We're going to have, um, we start with an empty activity. We're gonna call the project workout. Okay, um, and the second thing we need here, we have to add one more activity. We already have a main activity. We are going to add detail activity. So right click, new activity, empty activity. We'll call it detail activity. Okay, so let's start with activity main. We delete this text since we won't really need it. Okay, let me go back to our blueprint since it's easier. We're going to add a button. Okay, it automatically created. We're going to add a text. Again, every time we're going to add a text, you go to project, resources, strings, so details, detail button, show details. Go back to the activity, and we are going to apply this into the bottom. Oops, click the wrong place. This one. Okay. Now, slide 6. Go back to main activity.java. So we're going to create a method that's going to respond to the clicks on the button. Remember, every time we have that, it's a public void. Let's call it on show details as asked, and it has a view. Oops, Alt enter, and it has a view as a parameter. Create a new intent. Okay. As said here, don't forget, we created the method. If we don't go back to our layout, on click and choose this, nothing's gonna happen. Okay, just test it. What we're gonna have here is simply going from when you click the button, it should start the other activity. That's it. Perfect. Okay. Button disappeared. It went to detail activity. No problem. Okay. Let's start getting to the fragments. We're going to right click here, new fragment, and fragment blank. We call it workout detail fragment. Just look, include fragment factory methods, no, so we unclick this, and that's it. Okay, make sure your target source is main. This is what it should be. Okay, this is a problem that we had in the last class. Same thing could happen here. It may be a problem the first time you run. Just close the project and reopen. And like magic, our problem is solved. Okay, now let's go to our XML. And as I said here, so I did these slides before and we had the same errors then. It's probably some version problem with Android Studio here. Okay, so it has this text view. Good. And we have our layout. Okay. When you see here, it says convert frame layout to constraint layout. That's what you need to do. So right click. Okay. Just click OK. Now this is just like the layouts we're used to working with. What you need to do: two text views, text title, text description. Let's go to our palette. Okay. Set constraints. Okay, created a chain with both, that's fine. So let's name them. Attributes. The top one is going to be text title. And this is going to be, just click yes, here, text description. Okay, add. So we have title and description. Let's set those back in res strings. Okay, back to our layout. Oops. So this is the description. I'll just apply the string here, and I'll apply the other string here. Okay, both are very small right now, so this title I can change in here. So I went for AppCompat large. So AppCompat, all these options, I go for large and select it here. Okay, doesn't show much of a difference, but once you click and design, you can see. Go back to blueprint, and we have both here. So this slide is done. Okay, let's go to our other layout now, to activity detail. Okay, now from the palette, we have here fragments. So this is the one we're going to drag straight here. So we're going to choose the fragment we created already. That's it. We just set our constraints automatically. And we're going to give it the ID detail frag. Right. So one thing that's important here as a test is that I didn't put anything in activity detail XML. All my text is only inside my fragment, that title and text and description. So let's see what happens. When I click show details, it shows right here my title and description, because this is my fragment already placed inside the activity detail. Okay, so we're done with slide 11. Let's move on. So now we're going to do just like we did for the Starbuzz thing. We're going to be creating a class that's going to store all the information for our for the workouts that we're going to have in this app. Okay, so let's go back to our project. New Java class. Work out the rest as it is. Good. Okay, so let's start seeing what we have to have here. Two variables, so private string name and private string description. A constructor method, so private. Oops. Okay, remember that here we're just we're making this constructor that so that every time you create a new object, it's going to set the name and description for this object. Okay, we need to have an array. So it is public static final workout, and we're gonna call it workouts. And then we're going to be adding these things to it. Just before I do that, let's just skip this and create the method that I'm asking here in the end. So get name. Okay, Android Studio even does create the method automatically for you. Public string get description. And finally, a toString. Oops. Yeah. Oh yes, sorry. This both would work, but this is more precise. Right. Okay. Now with our methods done, let's get back into our workouts array. I'm I'm not going to type all that. Just save time. So I'll call it workout 1. Count 1 description. Copying, pasting. So let's call it workout 2 description. And we have 4. So 3. And 4. Important detail, if you're copy and pasting like me, remember to remove this last comma here, in the last one. Okay. With this, nothing red, all good, all working fine. Go to workout detail fragments. So right after open the workout detail fragment, so right here, create a variable called workout ID. So private long workout ID. Okay, now we'll add this method here. So public void set workout ID long ID. So this is done. Next, let's get to detailActivity.java. Okay, so we're going to treat the fragment just like we treat any view that adds to a layout. So we need to get a reference here as a variable. We're going to create, use the data type workout detail fragment. Let's call it frag. We cast it here, workout detail fragment. Let me just see. So get support fragment manager dot find fragment by ID dot ID dot let me check if I gave this ID to the fragment. So, detail. I didn't give it the ID. So that's a problem. So let's fix it here. So my fragment is called detail frag. Go back here, r.id.detail frag. Okay, so guys, check this theory here in the link. I'm not going to be doing that right now, so have fun. I'll move on to our next practical part. Now, let's go back to fragment detail. Good, we set some text here. I'm going to delete it. We already tested it, we know that it's working, and we don't need those anymore. Don't worry, they just squeezed because there is no content, but they're still here. Now let's go to Java